All right, this emergency meeting is officially called to order. For those attending remotely, please confirm working mic and audio.
All of the remote attendees confirming working audio and mic, so it was time to get started.
For the record, I am John Cox, head of the Heroes Association of America, Portland branch. The nature of the emergency concerns a recent enhanced individual, one Marcus McKenna, evaluated as an F-tier hero, the first to appear. His power manifested as a 1% incremental improvement. This was classified as low-tier, with negligible real impact. That assessment is clearly wrong. He and his father are currently in a private meeting with a Dr. Kim of OHSU after a council finding of doctors, so we can speak freely in this meeting. Miss Anna here will go more in-depth on the current situation.
I passed the floor, and Anna stood up, smoothing her skirts before addressing everyone.
As stated, my name is Anna, and my job is to work as counselor to Fledgling Enhanced, to give them the mental health tools to adjust to their new life. Marcus, now going by the hero moniker Aegis, did not want to be a superhero and did not want powers. 1 week ago, his evaluation and testing put him as distinctly average for his age group and gender. His testing today puts him as faster than Usain Bolt, who holds the unenhanced record for his running speed. His BMI is top tier. His senses have improved, but it is not just his physical capabilities that have altered. His speed and clarity of thought have improved, and he can master tasks in moments that would take months or years for anyone else. Finally, he has begun to be able to keep me out of his mind, despite my psychic abilities.
Everyone in the meeting took that last part with weight. It was one thing that he was getting smarter or stronger, but if he could keep Anna out of his head, that changed an equation. Psychic intrusion was difficult to defend against in all but the most disciplined minds, and a scared 14-year-old boy was managing it. One of the online guests spoke up.
Is it possible that Aegis could manifest psychic abilities?
I responded,
We don't know, but according to what we know so far, if he does, he would become the most powerful psychic that's ever existed, and he would be capable of it in an incredibly short span. This would most likely be the case with any other superpower were he to achieve them, and there are several, such as magical abilities and chi manipulation, that he definitely can gain access to. As far as we can tell, unless it is something purely random, or with no defined metric to be better at something, he can simply just choose to become the best that has ever existed in humanity. In under 8 hours, he went from almost never hitting a pin at bowling to being able to get a perfect score with either hand, and much of the gap time was his own eating, taking notes, and chatting with his friend.
I brought up pictures. The first picture was of Marcus, taken when he entered the HFY for the first time. Then pictures taken from his bowling, from his family getting pictures on Sunday, and before, during, and after his workouts.
This is less than a week of the improvement. He's gotten taller, gaining muscle and bone density, heightened senses. He's gained in confidence even, as he's coming into a deeper understanding of his powers. His metabolic rate is equivalent to that of professional eaters and sumo wrestlers.
The questioner from before chimed back in.
And do we have any idea what he wants to do with this ability of his?
That man was a consistent pain in the ass, Raphael Jones, and I sighed before responding.
So far, he has locked onto his workouts and seems to want to see about the plight of the homeless here in Portland. He also has a passing interest in learning some other languages.
Raphael sat back in his chair and smiled a big toothy grin.
Then I don't understand the problem. I mean, he helps people, he works out, he learns to speak and understand. It's only an emergency if we make it one. One thing I will state, however, is that he is no F tier.
Raphael agitated me. Every meeting went like this. He would challenge the basic premise of the meeting and grind progress to a halt.
And what tier would you say that Aegis is in?
I believe he is the first American S tier.
Insane bastard.
The hell? He's a kid. Sure, he's fast, and sure, he learns fast. But sooner or later, he hits the human limit.
He let his head go to the side and his grin widen.
That is an assumption based on his power being trapped to human limitations, and the assumption that there is a single true human limit, and we have been given no proper evidence that this is the case on either front.
My hands cupped over my mouth and nose as Raphael laid it out. He could be psychic, chi-active, and magical, let alone any other area he decided he just wanted to be better at. And Marcus was already refusing to follow guidance and to put himself in situations outside of regulation.
Good evening, as always. My name is Marisol Reyes, and tonight we have a very special interview. But first, Aegis. Surfacing only days ago via a TikTok video, he claimed to be the self-proclaimed world's first F-tier superhero. Since then, videos of his feats have exploded across social media, certifying his claims to being an enhanced individual. The first enhanced surfaced nearly a decade ago now, with the first hero, Queen Anansi, making her presence known on her home continent of Africa. While her initial claims of a coming age of heroes seemed outlandish when she first stated them, more enhanced would continue to pop up from all walks of life. The world's governments acted quickly, forming their own forms of governmental departments to find, train, and regulate these new individuals. But the identities of the enhanced have been a mystery until just a few days ago, when Portland hero, Aegis, announced himself. And tonight, we have with a very special guest, and the USA's premier A-tier heroine, Crimson.
I looked to the side stage, motioning as Crimson came into camera for the audience. Plenty applauded and loudly cheered. Crimson cut an impressive figure, difficult as it might be to discern her facial features under the crowned half-domino mask she wore. Her mouth and jawline, but aught else, even her hair. She strode across stage, confident in every step, and draped her crimson cape out behind her as she sat, talking frankly.
I'm honored to be here, Ms. Reyes.
Oh, call me Marisol.
It was a usual part of my interviews to keep things casual, but it was made slightly less so by how Crimson stared behind the cowl.
Very well, Marisol.
Gods, if I don't at least get on the shortlist for an award off of this, it was never going to happen.
Now, obviously, you are still in training at the U.S. Hero Academy. Is that correct?
She nodded.
Yes, for 2 years now, so this will be my junior year.
What was it like for you when you first discovered your powers?
Best to get the softball questions out early, stretch out the viewership before getting into the meat of the interview. She considered a moment before answering.
Well, like most, I was scared. I'm pretty sure every enhanced dreams of getting powers, like most kids do, but dreaming and receiving are quite different matters. I was terrified, but the hey took care of me, made certain I felt safe, secure, and led me through the entire process to now.
I nodded, giving my intense, emotional listening face.
I imagine it can be quite lonely being a super.
She clearly didn't like the question as she spoke.
It can, but there are others like me at the Academy, even other mystical enhanced.
I assume, like the rest of us, you all found out about the newest enhanced Aegis at the same time?
Okay, let's milk this. At that, Crimson sat forward, forearms on knees, and I could see her foot shifting.
Oh, we didn't even find out right then. We were all in class when he dropped that bomb. And much like regular schools, teachers tend to frown on it when you start doom-scrolling TikTok in the middle of class. I'm so against that choice. Like, the first day of class, we're essentially shown a video about why we wear masks and use secret identities. Of course, the biggest reason is not to endanger our families, but he just dumped it out there for the world to see. And the things he can do are incredibly interesting.
Huh. Not the expected response. Oh God, they sent me a 16-year-old. You tend to forget about it with the costumes, but she was still a girl.
You sound excited by him. What interests you about Aegis? And what can we expect from him when he enters the Academy?
She twitched her head with a slight smirk.
Oh, he rejected entrance to the Academy.
He what?
I blurted it out. It was out of pocket, but who rejects Academy entrance? Crimson kept going, however.
Oh yeah, he fully rejected it, multiple times now. As to what interests me about him, some of it is that. As far as I or anyone else knows, no enhanced has rejected Academy entrance. I mean, it's one of the few places where we can really be our full selves, around other kids our own age who are going through the same thing, but I think it's different for him.
Her speech gave me the time to recover. We were already off script for the interview.
Different how?
Despite the mask, I could actually feel her roll her eyes.
Well, I mean, it's his powers. Sure, I'm a powerful sorceress, but outside of that, what I do is just what I do. It's me, it's my time. It's the same for pretty much all of us, that outside of whatever powers we may have been granted, we're just people. If I'm understanding his explanation of his abilities, he doesn't have that. Anything he starts doing, his powers improve. Even amongst supers, 0.01% of the population, I've never heard or read about any powers like that.
Madre de Dios. This girl had no polish for interviews.
For the viewers at home, how is that so much different?
She was reaching for the words.
His powers are all the time. Yeah, someone might have something like a healing factor, or they might be super agile, but their abilities fall within a window, and outside of that, we're like anyone else out there in the world. Each of us feels a little alone with our powers, but we can set them down. For Aegis, every single thing he touches is altered by the powers. So like the bowling, the skee ball, the physical exercise, all of those are only improving like they are because of his incremental improvement. Anything he learns, he masters. So what are his accomplishments? What's his and not his powers? Imagine you had magical reporter powers, that your entire career was due to powers you had no control over, that it was just an inexorable fact of life that you would be the greatest reporter in the world. How would it feel to get awards for something you didn't have to put effort into, that you couldn't even call your own? That's Aegis.
It was dead air for several seconds. Or at least I thought it was until I felt the tears running down my cheeks.
I can't even describe how horrific that would feel to know that. It's not fair. And he's 14. What does that do to someone?
Across the country, in a small house in Portland, Marcus laid in bed next to his sister Merida, reading Anne of Green Gables aloud, inventing voices for all the characters as he read. Merida yawned and snuggled into her brother's side. Mackenzie smiled silently from the hallway and shook her head, feigning disinterest as she put her earbuds in to go practice kata.